Hi, welcome to the seventh episode of the series Decolonizing the Mind. And today I will talk about the role of Turkey. If you want to understand the position of Turkey now, uh, it's also important to understand the history of it and the relationship between the US and Iran. Now, the history of Turkey is a long history of the Ottoman Empire. The Ottoman Empire was founded by Ottoman, who lived in Anatolia in central Turkey now. And he founded an empire that lasted for a few centuries until it was formally dissolved in 1924, 2 years before the last sultan had stepped down. And it's important to understand that at that time, Palestine was part of the Ottoman Empire. The Ottoman Empire, if you look at it geographically, it was located in Europe and Western Asia. And it, had its peak in more or less the 17th century. If you go to Europe in the 17th century, you would think that certainly Central Europe and Southern Europe was part of the Ottoman Empire. And in 1924, it was turned into a secular republic, and that battle was led by Kemal Atatürk, the founder of the modern secular state of Turkey. And to understand the impact of his reforms, you must understand that the Ottoman Empire was a Muslim empire. And Atatürk, at the end of the empire, regarded it as an obstacle to modernity. He banned the fez and turbans for men and discouraged women to wear veils and headscarves. But if you are doing these things in a Muslim country with a Muslim civilization, sooner or later there will be a reaction. And that reaction came late into the 20th century when an offshoot of the Muslim Brotherhood, which was founded in Egypt in 1928, was established in Turkey with the Justice and Development Party, which was founded in 2001 and came to power in 2012 with sweeping two-thirds majority in the parliament. And if you look at Turkey now, you should realize that Turkey is and Erdogan is mostly a Sunni population. Erdogan competes basically with Mohammed bin Salman Al Saud from Saudi Arabia, who is the leader of the Sunni Muslim world. And they have to divine their relationship with the Shia. Are the Shia the biggest enemies, or is Israel the biggest enemies? So what is your stance on Palestine? And that was came very clear with the Abraham Accords. The Abraham Accords, a peace agreement, which initially was signed between the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain on August 13, 2022, which was a normalization with Israel. And Erdogan condemned the accords and expressed his support for the Palestinians. So he was against the Abraham Accords. And after October 7, and specifically on October 28, Erdogan gave a speech where he addressed the genocide in Gaza. And the historical context, he referred to the historical context. And I mentioned in episode 1, where when the British General Edmund Allenby entered the city of Jerusalem, conquered from the Ottomans, he said, the wars of the crusade are now complete. And Erdogan, in his speech of October 28, referred to this crusade war. And he said, is this war of Gaza a war of the cross and the crescent? Is it the ongoing crusade of Christianity against Islam? It's important to know that that is a context, a historical and religious context in which Erdogan looks at Gaza. So in his speech now, he put some points which are very important to understand, and I want to stress that. He declared Israel a war criminal. He says Hamas is not a terrorist organization, it's a liberation group, Mujahideen waging a battle to protect its land and people. And he says, we are such a great nation and state that our strength or problem or struggle is not limited to our borders. So he positions Turkey not only as a state that looks after its problem within its border, but is willing to go beyond its border, and especially when Islam is under attack. And he says, we are on the side of the oppressed. From now on, we will continue our path with the motto, and it is important, that we may suddenly knock on your door one night. Basically saying, you should expect us to invade Israel. Now, that is important because Turkey is part of NATO. The United States has a military base in Turkey. It was used in the first Gulf War and in Afghanistan. From that base, the US airplanes launched airstrikes in Afghanistan. But on the other hand, there are increasingly antagonism between Turkey and USA. In 2016, there was a failed military coup against Erdogan. And Erdogan accused Fethullah Gulen, who lived in Pennsylvania, USA, of getting support from the CIA to topple him. And now, in the Israeli war in Palestine, USA and Turkey are totally on different sides. Important is the relation with Iran. Historically, there has been the Sunni-Shia divide. But in Palestine, Sunni and Shia are united in the fight against the occupation in Palestine. And I've talked about it in previous videos. Hamas is a Sunni organization and supported by Iran, a Shia nation. And there are two views in how to solve the occupation. One is Turkish views of the two-state solution, and one is Iran of a one-state solution, free Palestine, from the river to the sea. So where do you go from there? Now, the two-state solution is going nowhere. And you can see that in the statements of Erdogan, that he is saying here, we might knock on your door one night. And interesting is that the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Iran had visited Turkey a few days ago. They were presenting themselves openly before the press, where they're saying we are discussing how to stop the genocide in Gaza. How to stop the genocide? Is it with declarations or is it with military actions? And from now on, I will give you a view daily of how the war is going within Gaza and in Israel. The Northern Front is in full swing. I've explained that in the video of yesterday, of how Hezbollah and Israel are fully, not fully, but partially involved in the northern part of occupied Palestine. And to understand the nature of what's going on now, compared to the war which took place 2 years ago, 2021, which lasted for 11 days, which was a war that started with rocket attack. It was not an invasion, which is a qualitative different thing, which happened in October 2023. And in that war, only 13 Israelis were killed, and among them 5 civilians. In Palestine, 260 people were killed, among them 66 children and 40 women. And now, a month into the whole thing, 9,000 people have been killed in Gaza, 14,000 in occupied Palestine, 14,000 Israeli, 1,400 Israelis. And since the Gaza attack alone, 345 soldiers from Israel has been killed, according to Israeli sources. Hamas says recently, today, in the past 48 hours, 24 enemy vehicles and tanks were destroyed. So the war is in full swing. And then the question for Turkey will be, shall we participate or not? And the longer the genocide continues, the bigger the chance is that the war in Israel will become a regional war. Now, in one of the previous views, I talked about how Netanyahu uttered a nuclear threat against Iran and how the Russians act as a nuclear shield. And in the next episode, I'll go into the role of Russia specifically regarding their vision of how Israel and genocide in Gaza should be solved. So I'll talk about Russia, how they view terrorism, how they view the multipolar world, the two-state solution, and the relations with Hamas. You could look into the book. I didn't discuss Turkiye. I discussed Hezbollah, and in that there's part of some text on Turkiye. Apart from the book, as I always said, you can support this channel by subscribing to it, by sharing with your friends, family, and colleagues, and encourage them to subscribe by getting involved in discussion groups or making a donation. So that is for this episode. I hope you will meet tomorrow.